So let's discuss this question. Now, everyone thinks they know this question type. The second they read, it's discuss both views. They think it's classic discussion question, but it's not. There's a hidden layer in this question that most candidates miss, and that takes a toll on their answer. And today I want to show you that, because once you will see it, you will know exactly what to do with this kind of question. Alrighty. First thing to notice is this is not a vague discuss both views question. This question actually has a structure. It has an opening statement which talks about summer holidays. It says, like in many countries, summer vacations are either 2 months or longer. That's your opening statement and that's your introduction. Now, if you move forward, you see there are two questions, direct questions that they ask you. First one is the value of long school holidays, and that's your paragraph one. So you have to frame the first paragraph around just this point of view. And the second question is, what are the arguments in the favor of shorter school holidays? Now that's your body two or paragraph two, and it should revolve just around that particular opinion. So this question itself hands you a structure which a lot of students pass by and they miss it because they just see holiday, short versus long, discuss, it's a classic, but it's not. It's not the classic question. And actually, I think it's better than the classic question because it is handing you over a structure that you can follow while you're writing. Now, Cambridge IELTS 20 is quietly teaching you a lot about upcoming format changes, exam expectations, what kind of answers are expected, and what type of questions you might see in future. So you're not just going to classic questions with just one statement and discuss your views or discuss both sides. You might see a more structured question, which actually is a good approach because it gives you structure and it also gives you enough time to plan and write in a way that writing or typing 250 words will not seem like a lot. Because once you have a direction in which you have to write in, you simply just have to write your ideas out. Now, there are 5 things that actually made a student who attempted this answer score a 7 band, which is actually mentioned in the book itself. There are examiners' breakdowns as well. You can go and check Cambridge IELTS 20 for yourself. But I will talk about those 5 things which I noticed. It answers both questions separately and in dedicated paragraphs. Now, this student actually read the question, planned well before actually writing the answer. Because there is one clear paragraph on long holidays and one clear paragraph on short holidays, and that is something you should take into account when you are preparing. Next thing I noticed was it named the actual parties it is talking about. So it didn't say like some people think like this, or some people or a few people have an opinion. No, it actually named it. It talked about actual families. Like it said that specific families like working families and they need time together. So that makes it more concrete, more prominent, and your argument doesn't sound generic. Next, what I noticed is that it actually takes a stance when the student concludes the paragraph, which means it doesn't look for a safer conclusion like, both opinions have their merits. No, they specified that families want time together, specifically working families would like to spend time together. So they actually named the real people, and that made their argument a whole lot grounded. The other thing that I noticed was the vocabulary itself. Now, it did a lot of real work here. It wasn't a fancy vocabulary. No, it's just like the words, how they are used and how they are put together into phrases. That's quite impressive because they've used phrases like spend valuable time, maintain stronger family bond, affecting children. So it's not like they use something fancy, but they used it in a way that it sounded more natural and landed that way as well to the examiner. And that's quite impressive. Last thing that I observed is that there is a real sentence variety. Okay, they used compound and complex sentences rather than, taking a safer approach and using short sentences. And that variety got rewarded. Now, here's the important thing. This does not mean that the essay was clean or it was like perfect. No. There are preposition slips, there are singular plural mix ups, there are a bit of a repetition as well when same points get started in different words. But none of that stopped the student from getting a 7 ban, because these five main things which I noticed. And that's the actual lesson here, that to score a 7 ban, you don't have to be perfect, but you have to be strategic. You have to see what needs to be there and what might get overlooked if those things are actually there. So you need to have a proper structure. You need to read your question carefully, understand what the question is asking you. Don't be generic, take a stance. Don't be afraid of taking a stance if it is asking you to. Okay? Use vocabulary tactfully. Use it in a way that, it lands. Try to make phrases. Like, if you can't learn new words, at least learn how different words work well together. And lastly, try experimenting with more complex sentences. Have more cohesion. Use more linkers and connecting words. You don't have to learn tons of those. You can just learn a few, two or three, which you understand how to use. And, that's all. That is the biggest takeaway from this book. And this book itself is teaching you what IDP and IELTS and Cambridge is expecting in the coming days. We'll be waiting for Cambridge IELTS 21 because that'll make the picture more clearer. But just so you know that these changes, they are not something very new. It's just that we've been ignoring them. So my advice here is go back to Cambridge IELTS 19, Cambridge IELTS 20, read sample answers, read test papers, just decode. Try decoding what changes came and then compare it with Cambridge 17, 18. You will have a very clear picture of what upcoming exams can look like. And you will not need any vague predictions for that. I hope this will help you, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye bye.